Hey, what is going on, everybody? And in today's video, I want to have a little bit of fun and talk about my top 5 characters or teams that I really think need some attention in the near future, which obviously means reworks, base stat improvements, and all of that. I think they've done a really good job lately doing this for other characters really since Infinity Watch, but it has picked up a little bit with Weapon X, Web Warriors, Ravagers, and even the Young Avengers and Dark Hunters from this patch. So there's a lot of older characters that have been cleaned up a little bit, and so I want to share my top picks that I would love to see get improved in Marvel Strike Force. This may be different from your thoughts, but hey, let me know by the end of the video if I missed out on any that you would have liked to see in this video. So without further ado, let's get this list started. Okay, so starting in at number 5 is going to be Kingpin. Now, if you've been playing for a very long time, you know, Kingpin is a global launch release character. He was actually pretty good when he first came out. He was meta. He was arena meta, believe it or not. And it was primarily due to one reason, and it was his ultimate. You know, apply defense up to all allies for 2 turns, and then offense up to 5 allies, which realistically is everyone, more or less. I think they said it that way because of the minions that he can summon. And the reason for this was because he was so slow that actually it allowed him to put offense up on the allies that you would need to do their ultimate, which would blow up on turn 2. So back in the day, this was Crossbones' Detonate. This was Yondu's Yakka Arrow ultimate. This was Quake's ultimate, you know, so you would line this up so that this would go off, and then on turn 2, they would all use their AoE ults and basically wipe the field, and you would win. That was essentially, alongside Black Widow, who would just speed up everyone else, you would use, like, Kingpin, Black Widow, and, like, those 3, and, like, that was the arena meta for a while. Now, I don't remember how long that arena meta lasted, but it was, like, from when I started playing the game, I remember that being quite a big thing. So, Kingpin had his time very briefly, but more broadly, though, he's just an awkward character. He's a skill character. He's a protector that doesn't really tank outside of his summoning bodyguards, which are just a load of crap. They suck. They're really, really bad. They can taunt, but their stats are really terrible. There was a rework to summons in with red stars, but this never really got impacted enough because his stats just weren't really all that good. What's interesting is actually his health totals, not so good, you know, now, but actually he used to have one of the highest hit point totals in the game. But this was offset by the fact that he has 0 armor. And he's only one of a handful of characters that have 0 armor. I wasn't going to put a number on that, but I know that Scarlet Witch and Swarm also have 0 armor. I don't know if there's been any more recent releases that have 0 armor, but that impacts him overall. He doesn't really have any damage abilities outside of his basic, which gives a 50% chance to assist and just does, you know, not so great damage. He summons bodyguards on his special, does some buffs on his ultimate. I don't really feel that he's a protector. His passive has some... It's really just assist mechanics. It says 20% chance for an ally to gain a team attack. That is actually just an assist, because you see when you upgrade, plus 5% chance for an ally to assist. It's just worded awkwardly because things aren't worded this way now with newer characters, and it's only for villain allies. So yeah, it's kind of weird and kind of wonky, to be honest. And so how I would like to see him improved, well, first of all, we need to give him a tag. Now, I'm not super familiar with the Kingpin verse, you know, but I think there's like characters like Hammerhead. I'm thinking like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon where there were characters affiliated with him, other mercenaries. Right now, actually, Kingpin is really big in the comics in his own arc. It's actually, God, I forget the arc's name, but it's all around King. I have the comic, like, over there. It's all about Kingpin, and he's basically leading the Thunderbolts in New York City, and he doesn't lead the Thunderbolts. He commands them to kind of do shit in New York City to clean up and all that stuff. So I don't know what kind of characters that you could go alongside him, but definitely I could see him at the top, being that leader position, having an improvement to his passive that would reflect this. His special would need a huge rework. Maybe he summons specific characters. I don't know. Like, that could be really, really cool. And obviously, I think this fact that he's a protector, which is kind of strange, so I don't know how you could manipulate that one a little bit. Maybe, you know, get a huge health improvement, and in some way he can like either redistribute his own health to other allies, which doesn't seem very Kingpin, but I don't know, some way to maximize his large hit point pool that somehow allows the other characters to take damage. Like, I don't know. I think it was kind of awkward being a protector. I think maybe he should have just been a support character, but this was in the infancy of Marvel Strike Force, and they don't normally go around changing it, so they just have to change the kit, I guess, to reflect something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, Kingpin is someone that I would love to see some improvements on. Let me know in the comments down below how you would see an improvement to Kingpin. What kind of characters would you like to see go alongside him? Because right now, he is completely on the bench. He doesn't have anyone to work with really at this point, and he needs some love. So that's number 5, and that's Kingpin. Okay, and coming in at number 4 is the Hand. I think a lot of people might have saw this one coming. Now, for the purposes of this discussion, we're not going to be talking about Elektra, even though she is Hand. I think if they ever rework the Hand as a team, I don't think that Elektra would be on there because there's currently 7 characters with her, meaning 6 without. So I think what would happen, obviously Nobu would be reworked as the leader of the team. I think what could happen would be that they would add a new character. I'm thinking in the way that they did the Ravagers rework. So they added in Star-Lord T'Challa to go alongside Yondu, and then there were some extra minions. Now, there were less minions that were in the Hand, but I could see Nobu, one more character in, like, your choice of 3 minions. There are 5 minions, so maybe depending on what you're doing, what game mode, that kind of thing, there might be different reasons for, you know, different characters. So I'm not going to talk about each of the characters. The ones that did actually shine the most is actually Hand Sentry, and for the same reason as Kingpin, similarly, you know, this is what we called hide the toaster. Actually, Hand Sentry was very instrumental in hiding Ultron. Back in the day when Ultron was arena meta, you would just kind of use the smoke bomb aspect, and that would put everyone under stealth other than him for 2 turns. Like, it was actually really good and really annoying. So Hand Sentry was the only, and that's why I have him at 45k, frankly. He was the only character that was good enough to basically be used. The other ones were not really. You needed to use Nobu and Hand Assassin for the unlock of Phoenix, and so that's why I have them up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I could see them. What other character would I see coming to the Hand? I'm thinking Gorgon. Tommy Shishido, is that, or is he Hydra? I forget. But there must be some other bigger named Hand characters that they could bring in. Again, not a huge Hand expert in terms of the comic lore, so suggestions in the comments below would definitely be appreciated on that. I think, oh my god, one of the worst characters in the game. Like, his ultimate, all it does is apply counter to allies. That's it. That is it. I think even on global launch, this actually was not very good. Because just counters are okay, but like you would need more than that now, right? You would need like damage out the wazoo and also counter and also more stuff. If you compare this to kits now, it's unbelievable. Like that this would even be a thing. It's on a cooldown of 5. Like if this was on a cooldown of 2, like fair game. But like otherwise, this is just ridiculous. And the fact that even the T4s, all you get is you go from 1 to 2 on self to like 2. It's absolutely nuts. So yeah, crazy. His summons actually aren't terrible. If they rework this, I could see this actually being really good. Obviously, we would need more than just the summoning part, because a lot of characters now, when they summon, they do more than that. Even Yondu's rework for the Ravager, the Ravagers saw more than that. But as far as summoning Hand Archer and Hand Blade Master, would have been kind of neat to see Hand Sorceress, but Hand Archer is absolutely bonkers because his Arrow Storm actually is the and you really hate this when you're fighting them as minions back in the day, but this was like the only character that could like guarantee AoE buff cleansing because you gained 100,000 extra focus for this attack. It was absolutely crazy. Like, it could be a low-level Hand Archer and he would still clear your buffs. Like, it was absolutely bonkers. So yes, if Hand Archer and all the Hand minions get buffed, and like these abilities get buffed, I could actually see Hand being really good. I think this was a missed opportunity for War Defense, as much as I hate to say it. I think that, and a lot of people have said this already, that Hand should have been what Heroes for Hire is right now. All the revives and stuff, this is definitely a Hand mechanic. I've at least watched the Defenders Netflix show, so I've kind of seen that, you know, Elektra came back to life in the show, so this is definitely like a recurring theme here with the Hand, is like, you know, immortality, reviving, resurrection, this kind of stuff. So this is something that definitely should have been on the Hand's agenda. They could still be a war defense team, but it would kind of feel weird to do something very similar to Heroes for Hire already, so it would have to be something different. Hand is something that they find, it's the last remaining minion team, I'm pretty sure, so this is something that needs to be touched on here in 2022. So that's number 4. That's the Hand. Moving on. Okay, and coming in at number 3 is the Guardians of the Galaxy minus Gamora. So we're not here to talk about Gamora. I actually wanted to talk more about Mantis and Drax before we talked about the others, because Mantis came out at a very weird time. She came out one patch before Minerva. I am almost certain of this. And as soon as Minerva came out, it completely overshadowed Mantis. Like, barely anybody really invested in Mantis because she was okay. But then Minerva came out and completely blew her out of the water. Like, she had some interesting heal mechanics and some healing kit. She could redistribute her health between self and lowest allies. Very low cooldown abilities as well, raid callouts, things like that. She was meant to be a raid healer because the Guardians were actually decent with Star-Lord and Rocket, so this is what was meant to happen. Like, it was actually pretty low cooldowns across the board. The problem is that Minerva came out. She had some callouts to Drax, I believe, as well. I forget where exactly that is. I think it's on the basic. That's how much I know about Mantis. Like, I really don't know much. So, if charged, then addition. So, she gets charges, and if Drax is an ally, you get to apply deflect to Drax. So really, you were meant to use Mantis and Drax together, and that's kind of why I want to talk about Drax as well. So, he was the first character in the game to have Spawn Taunt. We have a fair few, well, we have some of that now. We have Red Guardian, which was kind of the next character to really have Spawn Taunt, and he was kind of essentially Drax 2.0. I would love to see some tanking improvements to Drax. In what manner, I don't know. Again, I'm kind of afraid that we're going to see this in new game modes rather than, like, I highly doubt this is going to be a raid meta team because of the mixture, right, between bio and tech gear. So it's going to be probably like a grand tournament team or something like that around the corner, I would imagine. In line with Guardians 3, I don't know if that's even expected this year. I haven't kept up with all the dates. So as far as Guardians 3 release date, you know, that would probably make the most sense for Guardians Rework, but I don't know really, you know, when that's going to be and if that will even be in 2022. Drax was a pretty decent tank. He was actually one of the best tanks in the game for a long time. If you looked at old tier lists, he would be up there on that list because of the Spawn Taunt, and he had also two-turn taunt. Oh, wait, no, I thought he had two-turn taunt, actually. Never mind. My bad. But he had the defense up for up to 2 turns, so that was good too. It was kind of low cooldown. He was a really good character anyways back in the day. I have him at a decent power. That's because I was using him like in the very early stages of the game. In terms of the other characters, well, we know that Rocket and Star-Lord are part of that Nowhere Heist grouping, so a lot of people would like to see some reworks here to make it worthwhile for the investment that people had to put in for this event. Groot, well, really just kind of pairs along with Rocket and Star-Lord, right? So there's the 3 of them. There's 5 here total. What was, kind of rumored, was that we might see, well, there's Beta Ray Bill, who might be coming in Guardians 3, I think, and then also, what's his name? Richard Rider Nova might be coming as well. So whether or not that would actually rework the full 5, or it would take just a handful of them, a lot of were rumored that it would just be Star-Lord, Rocket, and Groot, alongside someone like Richard Rider Nova. I'm not entirely sure, but this is some adjustments where it needs to be made. I would really love to see adjustments to Mantis and Drax, to be honest. Like, I know that people would rather see it in Star-Lord and Rocket, but they need to get some love. All of them need to get some love. We have Christmas Tree Groot over here, just sitting here that I'm barely using, but I did get that skin from the Christmas event. But otherwise, he's just sitting around, being all Christmassy, and he needs some love. Let's give Groot some love. So that's number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe we'll see it in 2022. All right, and coming in at number 2 is your favorite team, the Apex Legendary Raid Team, the Wakandans. Show some love for the Wakandans. So, okay, some backstory for those of you who are not familiar. This team was touted as being the Apex Raid Team. The first, if I'm not mistaken, that was labeled as Apex. They used that word, Apex Raid Team, back in the days of Ultimate 7. I'm not even sure the difficulty slider was out there at that time, so I think it was just Ultimate 7. And so, this was a team that just really missed the mark. But to make them any good, to try and justify it, this was back when T4s were released, that they were saying that the only way to make this team work was to put in oodles of T4s in everyone to make work. Now, I did not. And Killmonger did get a costume recently, and so he's looking pretty good. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, obviously Killmonger had a recent rework with the Skelettary a little bit. Most people are still just using him on Merc's defense. if you're happening to be using him. You're not really using him in that the full skilletary team. You're using Black Widow now. And Shuri is still being used in Doomray Tech for the moment, and, you know, I get daily use out of her. But as far as the other three, they are complete trash. I'm pretty sure the old version of Okoye was actually better than this version of Okoye, okay? So, back before she was actually released as a character, she was an enemy in the campaigns. And she would, like, assist out the wazoo, like, every single time that Black Panther would attack, she would attack. And this only happens, actually, if she's charged. So that was a major change from how she operates now than compared to what it was before she was released. And she just didn't have the focus to really clear any buffs half the time. Her kit was kind of meh, and like overall, she is the worst character on the team primarily. I mean, tied with M'Bak. I mean, they're all kind of bad, but they need some work. And so, yeah, M'Baku's tanking just really fell off. Maybe it was his base stats were just not really there. It was actually low cooldown. His taunt, it was only 3 turns, but only lasted for 1 turn. Nowadays, you kind of need tanks to have like a 2-turn taunt at this rate because like almost everyone does. Otherwise, it's like other ways for them to taunt, you know, like under 50% health of an ally or something to trigger the taunt. You know, otherwise you do need 2 turns now. I think that's what you really need for these characters. So Wakandans, definitely they need some love. Black Panther, cool mechanic on his passive, right? And this is super annoying in Dark Dimension 3 and 4, where on kill they get speed bar, and you can get up to 100% speed bar if you get the T4 in the passive. But yeah, I mean, he's like the 3rd best, I guess, and Okoye and M'Baku are just some of the worst characters in the game. I think that with Black Panther 2 coming around, is that this year as well? Like, maybe in the later half of 2022, I would love to see... I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if there are any new characters that they can bring to... I'm not super familiar, once again, with the Black Panther lore. Maybe there are brand new characters that they're planning to bring in for this. But I think I would just rather see a rework to this existing team to make them a little bit better. Unfortunately, that's not going to make them money, right? Because we have to think, well, if they're going to make money, then they need to bring in new characters, which is why for the Guardians rework, I suggested things like Richard Rider Nova and someone else, Beta Ray Bill, because they need to make money with their reworks. Every rework that we've seen so far has had newer characters with older characters. So, I don't know. They could take these 3, which are the shit 3, add in 2 new characters, rework them all, and then I'd be happy with that, I guess, because Killmonger and Shuri kind of have a place somewhere else anyways, whether it's standalone. It's super awkward, though. Maybe just dump Killmonger, add 1 new character in, because Shuri has a passive that's really important to the team. I don't know. They need to do something. Wakanda, not Apex raid team, never really was. They really missed the mark. The good thing is that you could use them for Chaos Theory, which is the flash event for silver and gold promos. Okay, moving on to number 1, which is going to be the most important. Okay, everyone. Number 1. I think you probably may have seen this coming because I was looking through my roster. I'm like, who is some of the worst characters in the game right now that, interestingly, has been reworked, and he was touched slightly, but just not enough, and he's always been back of the pack, and he's a legendary, although I don't really consider him to be as such anymore. But man, Iron Man, such a quintessential character for Marvel, for the Avengers, just in general, like a character that probably should be better than he is, alongside characters like Hulk, to be honest. But we're focused on Iron Man for this one. We're not making a Hulk number 1, although he does get an honorable mention here in the number 1. I'll say that I would have liked to have added him in this list video, but yes, he did not make it. So Iron Man started off as being a legendary character unlockable by shield characters, and then you could place him on the Avengers team, and with the Rocket Barrage special, if you had Captain America as your ally, it would do a team-up attack and do more damage. This attack is unavoidable. Unfortunately, it just does damage, and it's not nearly enough for kind of characters nowadays. Now, he did receive, obviously, the Power Armor rework, but I didn't feel that really went far enough because he was actually the weakest member of that team and the most replaceable, believe it or not. A lot of people actually just take out Iron Man and put in like Ultron, just because there's some tech synergy there. You can get some speed bar with OG Falcon, things like that. So yeah, there were some issues with Iron Man. Like he gains 10% extra crit chance. He applies that to tech allies. So there's like something there that I wish was better, that there was a reason to use him. Like if his stats were better. He gains 5% damage for each power armor or wave 1 Avenger ally, but that just was not enough to really bring up his damage where it needed to be. So he needs a pretty substantial base stat rework. His stats just really are nothing. He gets blown away just like he's nothing. And it's really sad because of how important Iron Man is to the Marvel lore. I heard that there is going to be a new TV show coming out. I believe it's called Armor Wars. Correct me as well in the comments down below if I got that wrong. I'm not sure if that's meant to be 2022 either, so I don't know if Iron Man's something that we would be seeing. Now, whether or not this would be the answer to like a tech team, I don't think it will be, and that's not what I'm suggesting here, but you know, I really wish there was more versatility, more viability of Iron Man as a character in Marvel Strike Force. His Unibeam should do a lot more. This should be piercing, frankly. Like, I think that's maybe then it would be better. You know, like, but even then, I think that for the cooldown, there would have to be something more than just damage. Damage alone is just not enough for characters these days. So I think that you would need to see more on top of that, or it would have to be a shorter cooldown, or an easier way to get to this, or something, and piercing on top of that. So, Iron Man, I'm so sad for you. I wish that you could do more. Let's hope that maybe in the near future that you will. Let me know, guys. What are your top characters that you would like to see get reworked? Did I miss anyone that's of importance to you personally, or that you would just like to see in the game, you know, get really bumped up? I think these represented some of the worst characters that probably deserve to see some improvements in the game, but of course, there probably are likely more. So let me know in the comments down below which ones I should have added, and of course, until next time, stay safe, healthy, and sane, and I will see you all later. Boilon signing out.